X marks the spot, everybody.
X marks the spot, guys.
Right. Oh, terrible shadow.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're back down here at Las Vegas Federal Courthouse again. Today's been a good day. We started out with a prayer up there in the lobby of the courthouse, and we have a great crowd here. We have close to 40 people in the courtroom again today, and people as far as from West Virginia today again. Some newcomers that showed up. We did have our first witness today of the defense side since the trial started, and we had a great witness, Shannon Bushman. He took a lot of videos from out there at the standoff during the 11th and 12th, and some of those pictures and stuff were played today, and he was cross-examined by the prosecution pretty heavily. I would say his examination from them took longer than what the defense actually questioned him, but he done very well. He answered the questions professionally, and we're very excited today how things are going. The defense team is on ball this morning. They are definitely got their act together today, and we're excited. We have a few more witnesses coming today. We don't know exactly all their names, but we do know that Eric Parker is going to take the stand today. Let me if they get through everyone, but Eric Parker is planning on taking the stand today if they get through all their witnesses. The government, the way they're acting, they are really going over these witnesses, taking their time, asking questions that are not necessary at all, but so they may drag it on longer just because of their cross-examination of the witness. Let me let Andrea say a few things here.
Okay, so when we went in, Shannon Bushman, he took some of the photos that they brought in already without him being in the room. I think he took some of the photos that the FBI agents pulled in. They, in direct examination, asked him after he had heard Cliven and the sheriff speak, what he believed he heard after that. There was an objection, and they said that he cannot get into that. Later on, he continues to be direct examined by Marchese, and the judge stops and says, I'm going to reverse my last ruling and allow it because she said he needed to reword it, but she would allow it. So that was the first time that we've seen her actually giving us some love. He said on multiple times that he was on the northbound bridge, and there was only 8 to 10 people there. There was trucks with 30-ish men, the BLM trucks, and they were ready for war, army men in green suits. He was surprised because the sheriff said that they were gone. Then he went over to the southbound bridge, and he said, all the BLM Park Service, I was not sure who they were, and they looked like they were getting ready to have a war. Then he talks about he was taking pictures from over there, and they pointed their weapons at him 3 different times. And he said, well, I can see down there that they have binoculars. So if they were trying to view and see if I had a gun or not, they could have done that with binoculars, but here they are pointing weapons at me 3 different times. And he said he was very scared about that, and it was making him nervous.
He even asked some tourists to leave because of it. That the prosecutors mentioned that, why didn't you ask people down in the wash to leave if you were scared? He said, well, I did ask people to leave around me. I wasn't down in the wash. I asked people to leave that were behind me and near me, and there were some tourists that had stopped along the interstate to take pictures or see what was going on, and he did ask them to leave.
They asked him if he had a weapon, and he did not have a weapon. He only had his camera, which he said multiple times he turned sideways so that they could see that it was a camera. He said that he kept getting more scared the multiple times that they were pointing at him. He should have figured out that they did not, or that they should have figured out he did not have a gun. At one point he said he was looking for a place to hide if they started shooting because of them pointing their weapons at him, and he was worried that he would break his camera if he was forced to jump over the barrier to get out of the line of fire. I thought that that was really great. When they went into cross-examination, they really tried to confuse everyone by putting up pictures. You know, he says the BLM they were dressed like militants. He couldn't tell if they were BLM or Park Service, and that they were ready for war. So they start showing pictures, and every picture he said, well, I couldn't see that. I didn't see that person, but it didn't matter because they still said, well, what is this person wearing? Does it look like they're ready for war? And on at least one occasion he said, well, no, that guy's wearing a short sleeve shirt and a ball cap, and the other guys have helmets.
He said it's not apples to apples here.
Exactly.
Definitely not apples to apples. He says, I'm seeing when they're wearing these uniforms, he said these unidentified officers, maybe the BLM officers or park rangers, I'm not for sure which one they are, but they had helmets on, like riot gear and different things, and he said that's not apple to apples. The people that you're seeing on the bridge had short sleeve shirts, baseball caps, they might have been holding a gun, but they looked like just ordinary people.
Another thing that they said is they were really hounding him if he could hear what was being announced over the loudspeakers. And he kept saying, no, I couldn't hear. I could only hear a mumbled noise. And he, as well as Dennis Michael Lynch did before, gave an example that was like, and that's what they could hear. And multiple times they played videos and they're like, could you hear what they were saying? And even in the videos, he's like, no, I can't hear that. And they play it again and he's like, no, I can't make it out. So they really tried to punch holes in his story. Then at one point he was asked if he knew if they were aiming the weapons at something behind him, trying to say that they were aiming the weapons possibly at the people on the northbound bridge that were behind him. If you look at the two bridges, they are offset, so there's absolutely no way with him on the complete left-hand side that they were pointing at the people on the bridge on the right, because it's up from that. And he said, no, I know they aimed directly at me multiple times. He said if they were trying to aim at something behind me, they were aiming at traffic, truck drivers, and tourists, because there was no way that they were aiming at anything behind him. Then they talked more about what he could hear and the fact that the people were moving up towards the gate, but the BLM never actually moved up towards the gate. I believe they're trying to say, oh, well, the protesters were continually trying to come forward and the BLM weren't, but I believe that the BLM's weapons and everything, they were prepared to shoot longer distances, so they did not need to actually move forward to achieve what they were doing.
So we got through our first witness of the day. We tried to bring in the second witness. It'd be Agent or Ranger Carpenter. They kept calling him either Agent or Ranger, so we're not exactly sure, at least I'm not, but at least Ranger Carpenter. He was not available for the defense at the moment, so we ended up going into recess for lunch. So we're not for sure why that Ranger Carpenter wasn't available, but hopefully after lunch we'll have him on. We've made it through lunch with only one witness so far that the defense has had. I don't see how we're going to get all of our witnesses in today and a half a day tomorrow, because we don't start court tomorrow till 11 o'clock. If we have them 10, 12 witnesses that we think that we possibly have today and tomorrow, there's no way to get through them all. So I don't know if the government's going to shut us down early or they're going to allow us to have more days next week. But right now, I don't see how this is going to get done, especially with Eric Parker's testimony. His is not going to be a short testimony. There's no way that his is going to take a half hour or just a few minutes. We need several hours of testimony from him alone. So this could play out longer than we're thinking. We don't know. We're just here observing the court. We're trying to figure out what they're thinking, and hopefully we get out the message that we're needing to get out, and the defense team gets these answers answered to the jurors properly before they go into deliberation. That's about all we have for now.
Hey, one more thing.
One more thing.
I would like to thank everyone that has come down. The courtroom is full. It's not completely full. There's room for more space, but the presence of everyone is huge. The look on the defendants' faces as they're looking out into the crowd in the morning, it is giving them the faith to continue this fight. And I can't thank each and every person that watches the live streams, that spreads the word, and that has come down here. What you're doing is helping us, so thank you.
We had another gentleman come all the way from West Virginia to be a part of this trial. He's going to be here about a week. And I can't think of everyone who's came from everywhere, but we've got people from all over the country, as far from Mexico, New Mexico.
Not
How you
old,
doing?
but the new.
So we've got people from all over here that's been coming down here and being a part of this. It's awesome. Even from, I'm going to mention that guy again from Colombia, South America came. Someone came from Alaska this week. So we've got people from Illinois, even surrounding states. So thank you everyone for coming and keep showing up. We've got several more days of court and we welcome everyone.
And I would like to also say that we had ABC News down here. It was Tom from ABC News came and did an interview, and he cut us up a little bit, but he represented us well. We were on the news last night at 6 o'clock all over in Las Vegas. They played it again, and they played it again at 6 this morning, and the guys in Pahrump actually saw us on the news at 6 o'clock this morning. So that's amazing. We're getting a little bit of mainstream media. Those calls out to have them show something for this trial worked, and we're gaining something. So thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Awesome.
So thanks again. We'll be back about 5 o'clock. Hopefully that time frame could change back and forth depending on when we get out of court here this afternoon. But thanks again. God bless. Keep praying and get some more boots down here on the ground.
Let's hear everybody today.
This is America right there. America, guys. On 3. Freedom. 1, 2, 3. Freedom! Freedom!
Yes.
Say peace.
Peace. Good afternoon, everyone. We're back down here. It's after court at the Las Vegas Federal Courthouse. And we got some quite a bit of news to share with you this evening about witnesses that the defense team called. But first off, we're going to tell you a little bit about Josh Martinez and a Christopher Lamb. I don't think he's related to me. I haven't actually got to sit down and meet this gentleman, but both of them got either detained and arrested down here today for being up here in this general area where we're at right now. I know Skipper has the full details on it because I was up in court, but Skipper was down here. Jonathan Skipper, he witnessed the whole thing, and he also got a lot of this, all of this on video, as several of the others did. But they detained Joshua Martinez, handcuffed him and took him away in the Metro PD, I understand, and this other Mr. Lamb. Here, come over here, Skipper. You can kind of explain what's going on.
Josh Martinez showed up, as you saw my other update, that he actually got a state ID. I made a joke that he revoked his sovereign citizenship. But so he got a state ID because he wanted to start going into the trial. And when he goes in, they rejected him, says that he's trespassing. And before we know it, one of the courtroom marshal guys was waving down the Metro officer, and they started handcuffing Josh, for trespassing. When Josh says, "Well, I wasn't trespassing because I wasn't told I was." And then this Christopher Lamb guy that just randomly showed up today. Comes up, and is talking to us, says, "Oh, I support the Bundys," but the whole time he's cussing up a storm, cussing at people, that's works here, he's yelling things at the DHS guys, yelling things at Metro pulls up, drives by, and then we got to move back.
Yeah, it'd probably be smart. I think it's calling more guys.
Come on,
We've been doing.
Well, we've
We've been told.
Well, I'm gonna keep talking.
We've been told before.
Let's keep talking until they actually tell us.
Okay.
So, they arrested Christopher Lamb because we actually had a guy that was here earlier, actually saw his ID. He showed the ID. They handcuffed Josh, took him away, wrote him a misdemeanor warning for trespassing, but they let him go. He came back, gave us an update before he had to go pick up his son. So this Christopher Lamb guy, no one knows him. It's the first time he showed up. We've never seen him before. He's never hung out with us before. He said that he just got out of jail, but he didn't say if it was today or if it was a few days ago or what. So that's all we know about the Christopher Lamb guy. Metro took his property because I told Metro, I was like, I don't know the guy. I don't want to be responsible for his property. But Josh, just got a warning. Even though he complied, he got a state ID, he's still not allowed inside.
Well, just a moment ago, we're still trying to figure out what's going on, but Homeland Security just approached some of us from the back side of the camera here, told us that we're not media, that we can't be up here. So we don't know the full details yet. They're on the radios behind us, so we might have to evacuate this area shortly under threat.
And we've actually had permission.
And we've had permission. We've had permission several times, as several of us know, but they're trying to intimidate us again today and tell us that we cannot do what we're doing here. And
real quick, one more thing. Angie Bundy showed up today, and she comes in and she goes in the courthouse, and they tell her that she can't go in. You know, and so first time she's ever been rejected for it, you know, so they're finding all kinds of reasons, you know, just to hinder us, you know, to show our support, to go inside, to be out here. It's a different story every single time, even though every 2 weeks we get, you know, these new permissions again. You know, we get everything established again, but every 2 weeks things get changed over because there's new people here that don't know what's been going on. And so it's a circus, it's a dog and pony show.
But what you can see here is just a peaceful assembly and updating
independent media,
citizen journalists, and it's all been extremely
He says
valuable.
you may be media, but you're not media.
Yes.
That's what he told me.
So we'll try to continue with our update on court here. I know Andrea takes very good notes here, and also Sergeant Moe's been taking great notes about the witnesses that we had. So go ahead and let's give them some updates on those.
Okay, so right after lunch we had Ranger Carpenter come in. He is a dog handler. He had body cam footage. They brought him in to enter one of his body cams that was a meeting between him and Pete Santilli. They were told by Stephen Myrie, what was it, yesterday, that that was his body cam. On the 11th between Santilli and Dan Love. That's the whole reason they brought him in. When he was on the stand today, he said no, that was not his body cam, and we were not able to get that footage in. He actually was bad for us. They started to play some of his body cam. Then they, when the government went to cross him, they wanted the rule of completion played and the entire body cam played, which we have argued over and over again. We have argued it for the longbows. We have argued it for the FBI interrogation videos. We have argued it for almost everything that they've brought in, and they said, no, the rule of completion does not work here. You're not going to get it. Here in the courtroom, for the first time, she let them use the rule of completion, let him get on in cross-examination, in the government's cross-examination of this witness, and then he proceeded to continue their case with their narrative. I'm not sure if that was set up by Myrie himself, saying that that was his body cam and maybe it wasn't his body cam, or if he perjured himself in court today by saying that no, it was not his body cam between him and Dan Love. Either way, I'd love to see it looked into more.
Also, and Michael Carpenter, just for some people who are joining and getting to know the story, he's a law enforcement officer for the BLM with canine management specifically. You know, and they did show the videos with the exhibits of the BLM officers behind the vehicles, standing at the ready, and I have to tell you, seeing it all again for myself back there in full, as a prior soldier, this is definitely what it looks like to gear up for war.
Well, they're saying that because we're more than 2 or 3 people, and the fact that some of the people here were down here protesting and stuff, they're considering us protesters.
Oh, we're not protesting right now.
It doesn't matter the fact that we've worked for 3 months out here and asked and got permission every time to do this. We've moved wherever they wanted to or anything like that. There's a new rule today. So, we are subjecting ourselves to arrest if we don't move.
Thank you. Okay, so, well, in the exhibit, not only did I notice that that's what it reminds me of when I'm preparing and gearing up for war, literally my battle rattle, my vest, my helmet, my Kevlar, my weapon at the ready. And if not in a position looking for my targets, identifying my targets, you cannot shoot. And they did say that, and it's stated throughout many government branches and military branches that we're not going to pull that trigger unless we have an identifiable target. However, their targets were mostly, well, they were specifying in court that they're looking for the lethal target, meaning they are armed or they are already shooting and taking fire from that individual. However, in that midst, in that crowd, you have women and children, and you have men also unarmed. So, you know, they already were making the mistake in identifying and targeting individuals with cameras, as we know, and laughing and joking in that video. So, I mean, they go on to the prosecution goes on to say that in the jokes in the video, they were joking simply about being there.
Did they say
at a time when it was on the radio, it was overheard on the radio. It's hard to concentrate, sorry, because we may be interfered with here.
They say Metro's coming.
Yeah, we've got Metro on our way.
Sounds like it's
an imminent threat.
Imminent threat for sure. We don't know the detail of what's all going on, but they're telling us in the background that Metro's coming, that we're supposed to move. Nobody's actually told me nothing. I'm just kind of hearing from the background here what's going on.
We got it on video that no one's told us to move.
So do we want to continue?
I haven't been told to move.
Okay.
I haven't been told to move
I've
either.
been hearing rumors is all, but...
So then we bring on defense calls Michelle Arnett. She traveled to Bunkerville on the 12th with 7 or 8 different people in different cars, and then talks about she was at the stage. She talks about what she heard the sheriff say. She heard the sheriff say that the BLM were ceasing operations and that they were leaving. She talks about how when they went down into the wash that they expected that they were just going to watch the cows come home, and that was not what they got when they got there. She said at one moment she saw snipers up on the plateau, and that made her fear for her life, and that she had looked at the barrier because she was going to hide behind it if she needed to. She talks about how everyone was joyful and happy after the sheriff spoke, and that they waited for an hour and a half, and then the cowboys came up on the hill, and how it's an awe-inspiring moment for her, and that there was joy all around when they went down to watch the cows come home.
As far as waiting for the cows to go home, she also had a nice comment out there when they were talking about crowd control for the park. She asked the question, actually posed the question to the prosecution, are our parks that crowded so that they need militarized control, is what she's referring to. I thought that was a great statement. She also made a great statement about, they talked about camouflage. They kept posing the question, are these men wearing camouflage, men that were near the stage when Cliven was and Ammon were giving their speech? And she said, what does that matter? I have camouflage pajamas. She was fantastic. She owned the witness stand with comfort and ease, sense of humor as well, a little bit of sass, but with honest and truth and integrity. Very principled is what I wanted to add to that. It was amazing.
She also said that when she got there, when she got there, it looked like a scene off of the TV that the BLM or the people on the other side looked like they were coming right out of Afghanistan. At that moment that she's being showed pictures, and then did you see this picture? And then they show her like a badge on this one person, and they enlarge it. Do you see this badge? And she's like, well, I see it on there, but I couldn't have seen it from across the 2 bridges.
And they did this to Shannon as well too when he was a witness. Same question.
And she also said it seemed like overkill to me for them to be having all of this just for rounding up cattle.
Yep. And I'd say the big difference of everything too that was discussed when they were talking about everybody with firearms, one of the big differences that I didn't see mentioned in court yet, I'd like to see someone point out on the defense side, is that firearms with the BLM were being lifted and pointed at the ready or pointed, looking for their targets. And the citizens had their weapons if they had a weapon. Some did. But when they did, they were either holstered or down pointing at the ground, not even at the ready. At the ready is lifting it slightly, so...
She also made a comment, it seemed like cowboys and Indians, except for there wasn't any Indians.
There wasn't any.
Then they gave her a barrage of all these different people. Do you see this person with a firearm? She said, I see that, a firearm. I didn't see that person. Do you see what I circled here? She said, I can't even see that's a gun. I see the guy has a dog. I see he has a backpack, but it's entirely blurry to me. This is all stuff we've all been saying since the very beginning. When we're seeing the pictures. We're like, I guess you could possibly make something out, but it is not clear.
Both witnesses today testified the same thing. They could not see or depict these references prosecution was making in these videos and pictures. They couldn't see. It was blurry.
Then she was asked something about these guys with their guns, and she said, don't we still have our Second Amendment right? She was then talked to by the judge in a not fabulous manner, which I thought was a little not great, and told that she was only to respond to the questions. Then it was brought up that she had dropped off supplies for the supporters after the fact. She did say that she did not know the Bundys going down into this, but then afterwards she became friends with them and got to know the family. They were using the fact that she dropped off supplies for the supporters, trying to say the supporters were militants. She dropped supplies off for the militia, which she said no, she dropped supplies off for the supporters. Then they bring in a video of her because she's wearing a "Don't Tread on Me" shirt. And for some reason that "Don't Tread on Me" shirt is supposed to make her irrelevant. Well, I don't understand this. And then she goes in to say, well, you know, the "Don't Tread on Me," and goes into explaining what that stands for, and that it was used by our military and it was used by our government as and the meaning behind it. And so I don't know, that seemed to go over well. That's pretty much
that's all I've got too.
One of the biggest things I noticed that when the lawyers, the defense team, was trying to argue for evidence to come in through these witnesses, that the judge made a mention today that the same rule does not apply for the defendant witnesses that it does to the government witnesses. And that rule, if I remember right, was Rule 104. I don't really remember the exact number, but she made a statement today. She told Greg Burleson's attorney, Mr. Jackson, that the same rule does not apply to the defendant witnesses the same as it does to the government witnesses, that the government's allowed to bring in more evidence to prove their case and the defendants are not. They have a higher standard of proof to do that. So today, to sum it up, we pretty much only got 3 witnesses finished today. We hope to try to get at least 3 more witnesses tomorrow before the day's out. We do not start until 11 o'clock. We know that we have Eric Parker for sure going to testify tomorrow, and we have 2 other witnesses. Dwight and Stanton Leaves.
Stanton is the father, Dwight is the son. The ranchers from Utah.
So there's 2 ranchers from Utah, a father and son. They are supposed to be back here again tomorrow, and so we hope they make it, and that we get to hear their story too, and then we maybe can sum up our witnesses tomorrow and go into closing arguments as soon as Monday morning here. So I guess that's about all we have for today.
I got one other thing. So at the end of the day, after they had all of this, they brought in, or after they let the jury go out, they argued that they want to re-argue the compel to have Dan Love come in and take the stand. And they requested him to get the presence because they called Carpenter just for the fact of getting that video in, the meeting between Love and Santilli, where they talk about Margaret Houston, and he says that his officer did nothing wrong. He also said that he has no problem with the Second Amendment and people can open carry on federal lands. He said this video is extremely important to the defense because here the government is making it so no, it is not okay to open carry on federal land. And the judge even interjects at this moment, and she says there's a difference between open carrying and brandishing. So they're saying anyone who had their hands on their weapons was brandishing their weapon, even if it was on a sling and they were just holding it to their body as they were going around. So, you know, here we're even getting into more of a mix. I believe it was the only reason they brought Carpenter on the stand. That backfired in their face extremely, and it was almost like it was set up by Myrie, and the judge is just going to allow, they're not going to allow Dan Love to come in yet again, even though he is crucial to our defense. They're saying that we'll let you put that video in, we'll give you the authenticity, but you've got to come up with the, what was it, the foundation possibly? And so that's where we left the relevance and foundation, and so that's where we're going with.
We will bring up one more thing about a juror. Juror number 9, finally the defense team brought it up today, and we've been noticing juror number 9 all along. She looks like she's asleep half the time. She's moving around in her chair. She never sits still. Her head's over to the side. And today the defense team argued that this juror fell asleep today, and the prosecution stood up and said, no, she didn't fall asleep. They could see a direct line of her, and they didn't feel like she was asleep at all. So they called this juror in at the last moment after the jurors left by herself, and they questioned this juror if she fell asleep. And she answered softly a few, no, she didn't fall asleep. She was awake the whole time, and she understood everything. So they're going to continue keeping this juror, but we're going to be monitoring this juror to see if she does fall asleep anymore or what the situation there is.
Was that during the BLM testimony?
Yes, that's right. She fell asleep through part of the BLM type testimony. So we will, I guess, close for the night. We will be back at 11 o'clock tomorrow. I don't know when we'll do an update tomorrow. It depends on our break. But we get no lunch tomorrow. We're supposed to eat lunch before we go to court, and we're going to be in there till closing about 4:30 or 5. So we might do an update before we go into court if we have something important. Other than that, it'll be sometime towards the end of the day. So we might only have one live stream tomorrow. Just want to let everybody know that, because through the lunch hour, we will be in court. Thanks again for joining us down here and listening to our updates, and we can use more boots on the ground tomorrow down here for people observing and seeing what's going on. We might go live again shortly if we get some more excitement. So we're fixing to head off this.
Remind the
area.
people real quick that the decisions being made here are literally trampling right over the Second Amendment.
They definitely are. Your Second Amendment rights and your First Amendment rights are at stake here. We are in trial for those rights. And if you think they're important, if you think the Constitution is important, you need to be down here trying to protect those rights and make sure that justice is served properly here. So thank you again, and God bless everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Did you see that over there? What do you think about this? Well, yeah, they straight up arrested more people today.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, we're still on.
If we got. Don't talk to me.
Okay,
well, I've been doing this for 7 weeks.
Just listen.
Okay.
My boss says it'd be okay if you film, like, say, down by the end of the fountain, by the wall, as long as you don't block
the passageway.
The passageway or that handicap access. All right. Okay.
Okay. So is this in writing or something, or what are we? So what are we basing?
You may have to request writing. I've just been asked to tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah, because they keep changing it on us. They said as long as we're not filming inside the video.
Who told you this to start with?
Several of the Homeland Security, several of the marks. We've been told this over and over. I've even respectfully asked.
I'm just telling you what my boss told me.
I've even got pictures. Okay, I've even got pictures.
So what are the rules now, so we can make sure everybody knows?
Okay.
Yeah, I've got. So I can show you pictures of those.
Tomorrow, if you do it like in that area where I kind of asked, and not have too big of a crowd, we won't say anything.
We're not even trying to have a crowd.
I know.
You know, we're trying to do
2 or 3 people. I don't understand
trying to report out here.
And I'm more than happy to let you do that. My name is Hall.
Hall. I'm John Lamb.
So if you can, like tomorrow, kind of move it down that way. As long as you don't block the ramp or the handicap, we're not going to say anything.
So who's your boss, or where can we talk to him? Because why are we being told something different than we was told the other day? We've told by your boss
My
right
boss
here.
is District Commander.
Can we have a card, or?
And I do not have a card.
Or does he have a card or a phone number?
A
she, Lewis?
Sharon Lewis is the District Commander. She's the one that gave me those instructions.
Now, is she getting it from regulations, or is it just off the cuff?
I do not know. Well, the regulation is to film up here, unless you're, I'm going to say, members of the press with a press card.
I've got the DH document that says otherwise, sir.
All right?
Yeah.
I have the DHS document that says otherwise. You're supposed to de-escalate on any filming around federal property, sir.
Okay.
All right. But it's a personal preference. You're just asking us. It ain't really.
We're trying to get away from the street noise.
We're really asking if you would do that over there. We won't mess with you and come and ask you to move.
Okay.
All right. That's all we're doing.
We were told the same thing about this spot.
We were told the same thing about that spot.
More people or 3 people?
It's just what I was told.
So we won't be.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
We won't be threatened or harassed if we're over there.
We will leave you alone if you're over there, as long as you don't block those 2 exits. All right.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot.
I appreciate your support.
Okay, excuse me. Who has jurisdiction on this? Is this federal or is this state?
We have told him that.
Yes. When you come up those steps, you're now on federal property.
Okay, we've heard two different things on that. Yeah,
I'll explain it to you. It's proprietary jurisdiction. The state has authority, but the federal government has the primary authority on this property. Now the city can come in and do things, but we have the primary jurisdiction and the rules and regulations on this property because it's owned by the federal government.
Okay. So we need something in writing.
Huh? No, I've got it. I've got the document in writing where we're supposed to de-escalate filming on federal court.
I understand, but I'm just asking if you can do it over there.
Sir, we have done this so many times. We want to get it in writing what we can do and what we can't do.
The thing is, when you go home in a couple of weeks and a new officer comes like yourself, we get told another story.
Yeah, I mean,
every 2 weeks.
We've been trying to be the most cooperative.
I understand, but understand my point of this. I'm getting told to tell you to do it over there.
Right, yeah.
You're just doing your job.
I'm just doing my job.
We hear that all the time, so I want to make that clear.
The messenger, we're not.
A court order or regulation presented to us that we can work within.
Remember, the press isn't covering this.
Specific place. Or permission to do it in a specific place.
Okay.
I will relay your concerns to her. All right?
This is free press. Citizen journalists have rights too.
You know?
Huh?
Citizen journalists do have rights.
I'm not going to debate that. I don't understand all of that. But this is what is being told me to tell you. So I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we're here kind of with we're trying to be the narrative of the press that Trump wants, because Trump has called all other news fake news, and so we try to get the truth out.
I'm not going to debate that with you.
Yeah, we're just true news.
If the federal government, your primary here, you said on this property,
yes.
where does the federal government get its authority, so I can go up higher and find out what's going on with that?
I have to do a little research on that, but it comes through the Federal Property Management Rules, Federal. I'd have to get you the exact one. Right?
As long as it's not the BLM, you're okay.
I'm just saying.
The BLM.
Am I allowed to give you a Constitution of the United States?
I have one in my car.
Oh, you do have one.
That's actually the federal government's authority, though. That is the Constitution.
I can't debate that with you. I'm just asking you, and I will try to explain to I try to explain to my people, my boss. This is what I told you. And she is the incident commander for this.
Yeah.
So I'm just passing the word on to you.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot.
We're trying to work with you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All righty.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So there you have it.
Keep going.
We was told that there's a free speech zone over at the far end of the parking lot this time instead of over towards the building. It's new rules that we're getting issued to us today again by new officers. Every 2 weeks it seems like we go through this. And so the free speech zone just moved another 50 feet over. So we've got new rules again. And it's all a personal preference. It has really nothing to do with what the law is. They didn't present any of the law. They did not show us anything that in writing, as you just seen there. So here we are out here, a handful of us left over from the day's proceedings. We had close to 50 people off and on in the courthouse, and I would say again another 70 people out here. So we're shutting it down for the day. We'll be a little later tomorrow. I might do a live stream before we go into the courthouse tomorrow. If we do, that will be before 11 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock sharp, we got to be up there on the 7th floor. And we'll go again until about 5 o'clock. So we'll try to go over some of them questions anybody has for us here later tonight, unless you see some right now. I got cupcakes.
Remind people one more time what was said about your gun rights in here. That if you're carrying in the presence of a law officer,
just carrying a weapon, according to the court, we've heard. One last time, we can tell you that again. It's important. If you're even carrying a gun, even if it's over your shoulder, on your side holstered, that is threatening an officer, especially the federal officers. And they're saying that is anywhere in the United States. This is a federal court saying this. Your gun rights definitely do not are not your Second Amendment right any longer, according to the federal government. What do you have to say about that, Brian?
Ditto. Ditto.
So he don't have much to say. So that's good.
I'm speechless.
Again, thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Thanks.